Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let us now begin the seminar. Today's seminar is comprised of 3 sessions under these titles. First, the flight safety management for air traffic surge, and second, new technology and innovation for aviation safety, and third, the strengthening capacity building for the effective SARPs implementation, yes. This is a paperless seminar, which means that we aim to become paperless. So we're providing all the presentations file in a PDF format. You can refer to our PDF formats of the presentation files by scanning the QR code that has been inserted at the back of your name tag. For our participants who are joining us through online, you can download all the presentations file through our website. Well, having introduced all the information, let us now start session number 1 under the title of Flight Safety Management for Air Traffic Surge. This session will be moderated by Representative John Wycliffe Twigjuk of Uganda, of ACAO Council ANC Commissioner. So, please.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Mistress of Ceremony? Is that how you put it? As you've heard, my name is John Wycliffe Twigjuk. I am going to moderate this session, and it's my great pleasure to do that. But before I do that, I would like to recognize you, distinguished delegates, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. And before I make a small contextual note, let me take this opportunity to convey our appreciation to the government of Korea for hosting this important event, and of course for the hospitality extended to us. Thank you so much. We appreciate. As you heard, I represent Uganda, but at the same time, I'm a member of the Navigation Commission. You'll find out what that means if you don't. And before then, I was representing Uganda on the ICAO Council. And before, I was director in charge of safety and security oversight in the Civil Aviation Authority of Uganda. So, where do we begin? The topic has been given to you, but and everybody, especially during the opening remarks, you heard we are in the recovery mode, and we are looking forward to the period after. But before we start discussing, let me remind you where we came from, why we are in recovery mode. And talk about what happened before the recovery mode. So we have to highlight the impact of COVID on aviation, and as you know, it probably was the most hit industry, at least among the most hit. As soon as the WHO declared COVID as a global pandemic, everything in aviation came to a halt, except for a few flights which were permitted to enable repatriation of national citizens who were stranded abroad. But shortly after that, we realized that there was a need for some essential flights to continue to be operated, especially the cargo, delivering essential commodities, and later on, of course, the COVID vaccines. That was very important. And to facilitate those flights to be operated, at least fairly safely, ICAO came up with, or established, what was then called the Council Aviation Recovery Task Force, CAT. And what it did was to try and guide states on what they can do to mitigate the impact of COVID. They also went ahead to produce some guidelines on what could be done. So So the CAT produced some procedures that could be used, and I think they have been the foundation for this quick recovery, but they were meant to help, especially during the pandemic situation, and also making sure that when the pandemic is over, the industry can grow sustainably. However, a lot of damage was done. And as you remember, as soon as the pandemic was declared, it didn't spare the regulators, it didn't spare the operators, the service providers. They all faced the same situation with the consequence of forcing staff on forced leave, and some of them eventually terminated, and others, of course, got so frustrated and left on their own. Essential facilities like aircraft maintenance, training bases were not spared either. They were closed. So in a nutshell, the safety management or safety oversight activities came to a standstill. And that's why the CAT was so important, because through the CAT, ICAO was able to guide states to continue to do some remote monitoring of safety oversight activities. And then eventually, of course, we are now in a recovery program. And those remote activities, remote methods of carrying out oversight are now part of the past. Exemptions that were given are now thing of the past. So we can now celebrate, of course, because of what we did right, both ICAO and the states. The industry is recovering perhaps quicker than we predicted. And so that is good news. But then we have to keep in mind that the infrastructure and the technical staff are not moving at the same pace. And this is going to cause safety situations or safety challenges. And this is the reason why we have to discuss what happens when traffic continues to surge, but infrastructure is not ready, the technical staff are not in adequate numbers. So that sorry, some bit of interruption. So in a summary, that's where we came from. That's what we are trying to address. And with me, I have, okay. So with me, a team of very professional and experienced aviators to discuss what we need to do during this recovery period and after, in order to make sure that the necessary levels of aviation safety are maintained. We will have 4 presentations, and they will give us different perspectives as I will highlight. The first presentation, and I'm going to introduce all the presenters at the same time so that we can save time. The first group of presentation would be by Brian and Robert. They are both from FAA, USA, and Brian is the coordinator for FAA for the Asia Pacific region for flight standards. He's based in Singapore. Previously, he worked in aircraft certification and flight standards division. Robert, his colleague, is the manager of AFS. And Robert, when you take the floor, perhaps you start by giving us the full name of AFS 200 Air Transport Division, which is part of the flight safety standards. This division is responsible for regulations and policies that govern certification, training, and operational aspects of commercial operators and their staff. And so Robert and Brian will give us the perspective from the regulator's point of view. To give us the perspective from the airline's point of view is Captain Baye. He's a captain on A330 working with the Korean Air. He's also an instructor and line check pilot on various types of aircraft. He has held leadership positions as well, including head of corporate safety and security investigation. So Captain Baye will give us the airline perspective. To give us the perspective of air navigation services provider is Sunan, who is the Vice President of Aeronautical Radio of Thailand Limited. In addition, he's responsible for en route air traffic services for Bangkok Flight Information Region within the Bangkok SEC, as well as approach and aerodrome ATS for the 2 aerodromes in Bangkok. And his colleague, Toon, is Air Traffic Management Network Manager, also working with Aeronautical Radio of Thailand Limited. He's responsible for strategic ATFM, concept development and implementation in Bangkok and the areas beyond Bangkok. Finally, but not least definitely, is Dr. Kim. He's a professor of Seoul University in the Republic of Korea. He was previously the vice president of the Korean Institute of Aviation Safety Technology. He has produced over 150 national and international projects, including the master plan for the famous Incheon International Airport for the 2030. The professor will give us a perspective from the academia. And as you know, the academia are so important. They do the extensive research, data analytics, and help us to predict what is coming ahead, and also be able to find the mitigation measures if necessary. So ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome this group of aviators to share with us the perspective of safety management during and after the pandemic. Please give them a round of applause and give them good listening. Thank you very much for now.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm Brian Hutchins. I work with flight standards here in the region. We're doing a joint presentation to talk a bit about how the FAA has responded. And first of all, I want to say that I was able to participate in the last conference that we had in Busan, so it's very good to be back at the next one, and sorry it took this long to happen. Okay, sorry, going the wrong way. Okay, just a few things I would like to talk about are some of the issues that the United States face, which may not be exactly the same as all of our other partners in this region, and talk a bit about the impact it had on staff, aircraft, and some of our lessons learned and some of the actions that we've taken going forward. The first thing I want to talk about is this is a graph of the volumes of air traffic in the United States. And as you'll notice, the black line is 2020, and clearly there was a drop. But what you'll also notice is it was a shorter drop than probably anyone else experienced in this region, and also a much shallower one that we were able to because of our domestic traffic to move once again to a higher level. So when we talk about the changes, maybe they weren't quite as drastic as some that you faced. But we did have some of the same issues. Passenger and international traffic dropped precipitously, but cargo increased. We were moving a lot of things around. And so there was the issue of moving passenger aircraft to make them cargo aircraft, the increase of cargo. Obviously difference because most of our regulators, we're set up more for passenger aircraft than cargo, and those changes meant we had to adapt to those changes quickly. And also the airline schedules. There was no basis for airlines to make their schedules. Last quarter, last year, were no longer relevant. And I think we're seeing that now as scheduling is based on an unknown basis. And so our oversight also had to respond to that because of those changes. We also had, obviously, recency concerns with pilots, maintenance, and others who were not able to maintain all the recency that are required under the regulations. And how do we react to that? Because we need to ensure that we're having safe operations. The training disruptions, training facilities were not open. Staff was not able to travel to those training facilities or to undertake the necessary training that they had. So clearly some disruptions. One of the other big things that happened was mental health struggles that we saw with staff. And this was based on not just flying during a pandemic. Clearly the first year there were no vaccines, there were no real known cures, but we were demanding, and the airlines were demanding, that staff operate. People lost their jobs, people left the industry, people did not know when they would work next. Maybe many of you ran into this at the airlines or even with the regulators, that people were put on leave for a period of time and they weren't sure when they were going to come back. And bringing all those struggles into a normally stressful environment became even more stressful. And then scheduling and fatigue, where some international flights, you had multiple air crew who were not allowed to either stay in the country that they arrived in or were forced to stay. I don't want to call them prisons, but as many of you went through quarantines, you were in a small hotel room for many days without the ability to get outside and do all the normal things that happened. Aircraft storage, this was another issue, large scale and long term. Normally when aircraft is stored, it's either long term with no expectation for coming back or a shorter term with an expectation to come back. But in this case, a lot of aircraft were put into long-term storage and nobody really knew when they were coming back. But maintenance needed to continue. However, the staff was not at the storage locations in many instances. So how do you move staff to maintain those aircraft? There was no stop the clock. There was no possibility to say, oh, that aircraft just has no maintenance for 6 months or a year. That's just not possible. And so obviously we had to do a number of exemptions and abilities to move people and aircraft abnormally. We allowed aircraft to move in and out of storage facilities much more frequently than we would have ever done under normal circumstances, but these were not normal circumstances. Just a couple pictures that I actually borrowed from my friends from Hong Kong, but these were things that went on at airports where the airports were not being used, the runways were not being used. Aircraft, not just the aircraft, but carts and other parts at the airport were not being used, and a beehive started there. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about like staffing issues, but then also transition in the presentation from this is what happened, these were the things that we faced, and what and actions that we took. The staffing issues. We and airlines both had a number of staffing issues. People were laid off, people left the industry, new recruits did not happen for a period of time. And as we know, there's always a pipeline coming and going into airlines and into regulators, and that stopped. and it was a hard stop for a couple years. And so that's part of what we need to do to recover, is to how do we restart and do it better, because we lost a lot of very qualified staff, maybe near the end of their career, or those who had other opportunities, and now we need more people into both regulators and industry. And I turn it over to Robert, and maybe you can go on from here.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everybody, and on behalf of Flight Standards Service and the Aviation Safety Organization with the Federal Aviation Administration, thank you very much for having me here today and tomorrow to talk about these very important subjects to all of us in the international environment. I'd like to add a little bit to what Brian was saying about staffing and recognize that as a regulator, it wasn't just industry, and it's still not today just industry. We as a regulator are also struggling. What do I mean by that? We are struggling with hiring. We're struggling with finding qualified staff, especially in the operations environment, pilots, dispatchers, that type of environment. And the expertise, the skills, and quite overall, the career picture that we're looking at, it makes it very challenging for us to recruit as well. So from the regulator's perspective, it is always very easy to look at industry and see those issues. It's a lot harder sometimes to look in the mirror and see those issues within your own organization as well. And that is something that we're still coping and challenging with today. From a perspective of resiliency, I think one of the largest lessons learned in the COVID environment was how our organization was prepared, although we may not have even realized it. Many of you have heard from Flight Standards in the past with the FAA about a large-scale reorganization that we had conducted in the 2017-2019 timeframe. That organizational realignment to what we call a functional organization really, we feel that prepared ourselves to be in a place to be able to adapt to the changes introduced by COVID. What do I mean by being able to adapt? That's breaking down barriers, stovepipes. No surprise, the FAA is a large, complicated organization within the U.S. government, and breaking down stovepipes and barriers between organizations, whether it's our Office of Accident Prevention to our aircraft certification to the Flight Standards Service, was critical in how we addressed the pandemic. We also looked very, very early at our rules and what we could waive, provide exemptions to, deviations to, and we also were very deliberate up front in trying to identify and capture data around those deviations, those exemptions, et cetera, to figure out what was durable for the future. Although the pandemic was awful in many ways, it pushed us to change as an organization that probably would have taken many, many years for us to have gotten there on our own from a cultural standpoint. Whether that's from a lessons learned perspective of how we were able to learn from our deviation and exemption process around the industry, to developing new and novel procedures to do the same work. One of the key points that's on the slide that really needs highlighting was that the COVID and pandemic forced the relationship and really tested the relationship between the regulated entity, what do I mean, the air carrier, right? The air carrier and us as the regulator with the flight standards. What we learned was that primarily focused on the relationship between what we call a CMO, so a Certificate Management Office, the group of inspectors within our regulatory structure that are assigned to oversee a particular airline. The success of the trust in that relationship between the regulator and industry was primarily based on the relationship of those inspectors that were assigned to that certificate and with the air carrier. The other key factor in dealing with the issues was the safety management system within those air carriers and the maturity of that system. How well did the air carrier rely on their safety management system? How strong was their hazard reporting, hazard identification, voluntary safety programs, et cetera? And when those things, what we've learned is that when those relationships are strong, not a regulatory capture perspective, but when the relationships are strong based on trust with a robust safety management system, we feel that the collaboration to work through these issues is most successful. And then finally, some novel procedures becoming normalized. Our workforce learned a lot about using Microsoft Teams, Zoom. I'm an example. You know, I work from my home in Portland, Maine. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but it's about an hour and a half north of Boston. And I lead and manage an office that's based out of Washington, D.C. Do I go to D.C. a lot? Absolutely. Quite the frequent flyer between the spots. But we learned that work can be done in other ways depending on the nature of the work, especially from a policy, regulatory, architect perspective. The work could be done differently. From our oversight perspective, what we learned up front was that our policy didn't necessarily prohibit virtual oversight. What do I mean by that? Using cameras, video recordings, MS Teams to do inspections, collaboration with the air carrier. Our policy didn't prohibit it, but our workforce was very uncomfortable with it, right? We moved the cheese, if you will, for our workforce. And so what we did up front was we generated some internal policy memos that solidified our organization's leadership support for critical thinking and to do virtual oversight and other virtual activities. And we were very deliberate in trying to capture the data, the data from that oversight. The idea being that the internal policy gave the employee staff the top cover, if you will, to be able to work within that framework of critical thinking, and then we use that framework to develop now durable policy on how we can do things virtually based on collaboration. An example from the operational perspective is how can we use virtual technology to observe check rides, training events, right? Instead of having to fly an inspector from the East Coast of the United States to the West Coast of the United States to observe a training class at an airline, can we work collaboratively with the airline to maybe stream that event so that that inspector can be monitoring it remotely? Those types of new and novel ideas. The next couple slides I want to highlight are some real significant work and milestones that have been accomplished by the Air Transportation Division during the COVID pandemic window. The reason why I'm highlighting them is we couldn't afford, if you will, from an organizational perspective, to shut down business. All the other pieces had to continue on in the background, and what we found was COVID was another layer of complexity that we had to deal with. One of the things that we are most proud of in that environment was our collaboration with our senior scientists in our aircraft certification office, particularly with our human factors senior scientist, and we developed, revised, and published our flight path management advisory circular. Everybody's familiar with the concept of flight path management, I'm sure, stabilized approaches, et cetera, but we're really proud of being able to finalize this policy and be able to publish it during and just after the environment. If anybody's curious, we provided a link on how to get to it. We're definitely proud of it, so if you want to take a look, the hyperlink at the bottom of the slide will take you right to the advisory circular. Another area that we're seeing significant amounts of interest in risk is high energy fires and thermal runaways. Anybody in the room not have a smartphone? Anybody in the room when they travel not have a smartphone, an iPad, and a laptop in their bag? I do. I actually have, sometimes I travel, I have my work smartphone, my personal smartphone, my work iPad, my personal iPad, and my laptop, if you're going somewhere for a while. That is a lot of lithium batteries, right? And so we're interested in how we manage high energy fires, thermal runaways, lithium batteries. Everybody automatically, I think, from a risk perspective, thinks about the cargo environment and using and transporting mass quantities of lithium batteries, but we're also very concerned about the passenger environment as well, and what I would call some where we could use, just pick my words right here, how we could better standardize how we manage high energy fires, thermal runaways in the passenger environment. Some U.S. air carriers will brief in their passenger brief from the cabin crew that if you drop your phone between the seats, don't reach for it, don't move your seat, don't go and get it, press the call button, and the flight attendant will come help fish your phone out of the seat. Other carriers don't brief that, and we're interested in understanding how that affects the risk model affects that within their safety management system and the controls that are in place. But this is definitely an area that we have a lot of interest and concerns in, and are trying to be proactive around managing this type of technology. As we're all aware, this technology and the battery technology isn't going away, so we need to find better ways to deal with the hazards that they present. Some of our actions is we're publishing resources and publications online, best practices. The FAA has a technical center, the William J. Hughes Technical Center, located in Atlantic City, New Jersey, that is focused on a significant amount of research around high energy fires. We have some cross-organizational work groups stood up, and we've also established what I would frame as an accountability framework with our Cargo Safety Executive Committee. So for example, with our Cargo Safety Executive Committee, that's executives from different organizations. For example, Flight Standards, our hazmat organization, our hazardous materials organization, and aircraft certification, and our research, where we work and have an accountability framework to deal with new hazards that are being introduced in the cargo environment. Again, if you'd like to take a look at any of the resources or the publications that we're publishing, please, you can follow the hyperlinks that are on the slide there. And then finally, the last item that I'd like to talk about is in our publication process. Fingers crossed, nobody holds me to this, but we're hoping 30 to 60 days will be finally published our revision to our TALPA policy. So takeoff and landing performance. You can take a look at the slide to talk about why from 2005, when we had a Southwest Airlines aircraft overrun the runway at Chicago Midway, and that we've developed new and updates to our advisory circular 9179, focused on break chain action reports, pilot reporting, and other guidelines to better mitigate those risks. So hopefully within the next 30 to 60 days that will be out and published. And with that, I think that takes us to the end with 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining. So.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Kang-won Bae. I'm a captain of Korean Air, Airbus 330, and also a head of the Korean Air Corporate Safety and Security Investigation. And also I'm leading the team of Flight Operation Quality Assurance Team, which is FOQA. And before beginning my presentation, if you allow me, since I see a majority of the people is Korean, I always try to greet people in my mother tongue. If you will, I really appreciate it. 안녕하십니까? 저는 대한항공 기장.
Hello everyone, I am Captain Kang-won Bae. I am currently working at the Safety and Security Investigation Team and at the Quality Safety Assurance Data Team. Today, I am going to be delivering my presentation in English. I ask for your understanding.
Thank you for your understanding. Let me start my presentation. As we all know and addressed, the COVID-19 pandemic has greatly impacted airline industry. And now we've been almost reaching end of the tunnel and on the verge of recovery of COVID-19. And it becomes crucial that we address new unique challenges that airline faces in post-pandemic recovery. By implementing proper protocols, trainings, and technology, I believe we can mitigate risks and provide a safer and comfortable experience for our customer. One of the main challenges is managing the risk of in-flight turbulence and potential injury. You have to recall injury. This is the main topic that I present you today, and I'm excited to introduce Crania new innovative turbulence trend analysis system. And simply, in short, we say TAS. This system is designed to analyze and predict turbulence pattern in real time to take proactive measures to minimize those risks of turbulence-related injuries. While there are other solutions on the market, such as IATA, Turbulence Aware Program, which is called the EDR, which Crania also has been using it. Crania, the TAS, has been developed for further and deeper analysis of turbulence events. What makes TAS is unique is we are using the such a things called technological RPA, robotic process automation. By automating the data collection and analysis process, we can have a deeper understanding of the in-flight turbulence patterns in real time with a greater accuracy and speed. In-flight injury can be developed to the aviation accident, ladies and gentlemen, accident, which causes lots of anxiety. So we are dedicated to doing everything to minimize those risks. Some of you may recall the AI robot TARS in the Hollywood blockbuster Interstellar. I don't know. In the movie, the TARS, as an AI robot, helped the main role astronaut, Mr. Cooper, to find the love of his life amidst the impossible journey through the Interstellar. Do you recognize it? In the movie, TAS helped him, and then the movie suggested the human being has been evolved and improved. As saying, we've always defined ourselves by the ability to overcome the impossible. And we count these moments when we dared to aim higher, to break barriers, to reach for the stars, to make the unknown known. We count these moments as our proudest moments. But we lost all that, or perhaps we just forgotten that we are still pioneers, that we've been barely begun. And that our greatest accomplishment cannot be behind us, because our destiny lies above us. I like this quotation very much because it reminds me those times when I studied learning of astronomy 101 class in the classroom with a great passion and a great awe. It was a time I felt like anything was possible if I just dared to dream big and pursue my goals with determination. Sorry, I'm a little bit off track. Let me go back to topic. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you, Crania, how we developed the TAS. As we examine the statistic presented in the table, it becomes apparent that there has been a concerning increase in the number of cabin crew injuries, left side table, despite a decrease in the occurrence of in-flight vertical acceleration events to the right table. Doesn't it sound a little bit strange? The vertical incident decrease, but cabin crew injury picking up high increases. This raised the flag and then highlighted me the need for the comprehensive analysis of turbulence events. Simply monitoring the frequency of the severe turbulence incident is not enough to prevent in-flight injury. We must analyze all types of turbulence events, including light and moderate turbulence, as a precursor to gain a complete understanding of turbulence situation. This will enable us to develop a more efficient and effective countermeasure to prevent cabin crew injury and ensure cabin passenger safety. By analyzing various factors such as reduction in crew speed and the use of CPAS and operation, TAS can help us develop a better countermeasure. And this slide showing the conceptual description of the current air turbulence trend analysis system. And as you may know, the current flight operation quality assurance forecast system only records the vertical G-force value of the time of the turbulence, limited with 1.7 G. I don't know whether you notice the terms, or under 0.3 G in the current air standard. This limited data make it difficult to conduct comprehensive analysis. We need to take a look before and after the event to understand what has happened. And TAS uses advanced algorithm to analyze flight data, including wind, flight path, and altitude, etc., to identify potential turbulence events. This allows us to take a proactive measure to minimize the risk of turbulence injury. And now, getting deeper a little bit, let me explain the background and an advantage of using robotic process automation, RPA, in current air turbulence trend analysis. As mentioned earlier, FOQA, Flight Operation Quality Assurance System, has a limitation in providing information related to the turbulence, as it only records data for all the events. To overcome this limitation, TAS focuses on the advantage of the quick access recorder data, which is QAR data, we call it, which records every moment of every flight in a continuous manner, more than 3,000 parameters in one flight, and up to 16 frames per second, which contains a lot of data. And the necessity of the rapid conversion of the distribution of the QAR data has been increased due to the needs of real-time users and the better service. However, this has also increased the high workload of FOQA analysis or data managers, because they have to work more data processes and even event management tasks and documentation work. This is the problem. To address the problem, current air has combined it with the RPA, robotic process automation, for data mining and analysis of the data. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the terms RPA, so let me give you just a little background. RPA is a technology that automates repetitive and manual tasks of software robots. And this can free up a human analysis to focus on more strategic and value-added work. It has been growing in popularity, I think, in the aviation industry also for flight data management, such as predictive maintenance, certain flight operation monitoring requirements, and the fuel efficiency, of course. And overall, RPA is a valuable tool that can be used to improve the efficiency, accuracy, and compliance, and the cost effectiveness of the flight data management. And let's move on to the structure and some key features that current air TAS. As you can see in the system structure map here, RPA project has made it possible to automatically extract the customized QAR data on the daily basis, including a specialized data extract with turbulence-related information in the definition. The newly acquired QAR data will be continuously refined with the turbulence-related information and automatically updated to the TAS data source. Our ultimate goal is to automate the entire process by adding features to visualize the data so that user can constantly have updated information. To give you better understanding of TOS, let me demonstrate some of the key features. As for the reference, I have used the current 5 years in-flight acceleration data. Let me play. Okay, thank you. The first key feature is the turbulence density map. The turbulence density map is the standout feature of this system, providing user with an in-depth understanding of turbulence events. It generates the personalized vertical GA contribution density map based on the user's search criteria. User can select a specific region, zoom in and out, and even choose a time frame to view the intensity and frequency of the turbulence occurrence with a trend and history of the event. The color variation, as you can see on the map, indicates the intensity of the occurrence and making it easy to identify area with a high turbulence activity. In essence, the TOS system is a powerful tool that enables user to plan their flights with greater insight and confidence. Oh, okay. Second key feature is the turbulent point view, which offers a user detailed view of turbulence events. With this feature, user can pinpoint. Can you play? Okay, thank you. With this feature, user can pinpoint the exact location of the in-flight vertical acceleration event within specific time period or specific routes. We provide user with a contour map to help them to understand the geographical influence of the turbulence in the area. The color of the events distinguishes the intensity of the turbulence, and with the red representing, of course, severe, yellow, moderate, and then green for the light, and so on and so forth. The turbulence point viewer provides the user with a precise information on the location and the severity of the turbulence events. And third key feature, next one. Okay, third key feature of the system, could you play again for me? Thank you very much. Third key feature of the system is the turbulence analyzer, a powerful tool that enables user to analyze turbulence events in detail. With this feature, user can zoom in, out specific area in worldwide map and click on individual flights to view pop-up window, as you can see the left side, with the detailed flight information at the time of the turbulence events. This includes flight data, flight number, route, altitude, vertical G, speed, wind factor, SAT, seatbelt, whatever, any parameter that the user defines. With this data, user can analyze the situation, that flight conditions, when the crew encountered turbulence. This allows for deeper understanding of how and why the in-flight injury occurred, and provides insight into developing a mitigation plan. This turbulence analyzer is an indispensable tool for those seeking to improve flight safety and mitigate turbulence-related risks. Okay, lastly, the turbulence trend dashboard feature. It provides user with a comprehensive view of the turbulence analysis with various QAL data-based charts. These charts offer valuable insight into turbulence patterns, enabling user to make informed decision about flight planning and the security measures. There are 4 features that TOS could provide. And I hope that this demonstration got you some idea what the TOS is about, and it is still under development. but has been proven to be effective in reducing turbulence-related incidents. And now, Korean Air do not want to stop here. We believe in sharing knowledge to improve aviation safety. As our seminar theme, work together. As my favorite term, Isaac Newton famously said, if I have sinned further than others, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants, by standing on the shoulders of giants. We recognize that our new system is still evolving, improving, implementing new technology, and it's built on knowledge and experience of those who came before us. And we are happy to share with it who are interested. Together, we can now work towards a safer future. This concludes my presentation, and if you are interested in learning more about the task system and the feature that I present today, please don't hesitate to come to me and contact me. I'll be around during the seminar, and I'm more than happy to answer any question you may have or providing additional information. In closing, I'm privileged to have this chance again, and I want to express my gratitude for attention of all of you today and unwavering commitment to aviation safety. And let's continue to work together to share knowledge and value and to ensure a safe and comfortable flying experience for all. Finally, I would like to say a few words in Korean again, if you will. 이것으로 발표를 마치겠습니다.
With this, I would like to conclude my presentation. If you are interested in the program that I have presented today, please contact me during the seminar and I will try to provide answers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sunan, Vice President on Air Traffic Management of Aerothai, an aviation service provider in Thailand. First of all, I would like to thank to MOLIT to kindly invitation Aerothai to share my experience after or post-COVID-19. And first of all, I would like to start on air traffic demand on pre-COVID-19. The overall traffic on pre-COVID-19 is 1 million flights a year in Bangkok Airport. That means around 2,800 flights daily. And if we are look in each part, we are going first at the southern part. We are almost 256 flights a year. That means 700 flights daily. We move to the west. We have overall flight a year on 145, let's say nearly 146 flight a year. It's almost international flight and overfly, no domestic traffic. It's 400 flights daily. We are going to the north. Traffic is 248,000 flights per year. And with 682 flights daily, if we are moving to the east and northeast, traffic demand is 250,000 flights a year. That with overall growth is 8%. So overall traffic is 1 million flights a year before COVID-19. And we are looking in the historical annual traffic volume in Bangkok FIR on the fiscal year. It's been starting from October to September, since from 2009 to 2022. If we're looking on the year 2009 to 2019, 10 years traffic growth around 10%, and after 2019, the traffic will drop to the year 2021. And looking on this year, the 10 of traffic growth will coming up to 722,000 flights. That means next year we are expect to traffic to coming up the same amount before COVID. And if we are looking in the next year, 2024, traffic will go to come back to a million flights. That means 4% growth. That's a good sign for aviation sector. And okay, what we plan or what we did for the post-COVID-19 traffic recovery supporting measures, we have 4 measures that we mentioned to do. First is high-low, it's high-density runway operation project at Bangkok Airport. The question is why we focus on high-low in Suvarnabhumi or Bangkok Airport. Because it lasts 4 or 5 months, we found runway incursion quite often. We are trying to looking back why. Some of the reason is we have new airlines coming to the airport, to the Suvarnabhumi Airport, Bangkok Airport, not familiar with the dome layouts and procedure. And the other is in that period, we have a lot of traffic, so our traffic controller try to increase the traffic in that runway capacity. So that this is the one that we mentioned on the high-low, that we work closely with regulation and airlines who are home-based in Suvarnabhumi. Last week, just meeting with the Thai Airways to looking for this operation at Suvarnabhumi. And the other thing is, the other thing that we did it on intensive ATC simulation training that we always did after post-COVID, preparing our controller to familiarize with the traffic that we increase in the next few months. And for the others that the others measure that we plan to integrate arrival sequencing tool and regional air traffic flow management and airport CDM networking development. That we will let our colleague go into the detail what we did in each measure. We hand over to Kun Piyawut.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunan. So good morning, everyone. Piyawut Nantimekabut, or Toon, Air Traffic Management Network Manager from Aerothai. Of course, I have to thank MOLIT for the hospitality of both inviting us to present and also all the organization of the conference so far. So I'll highlight more information on the major post-COVID recovery measures. So as far as our high-intensity runway operations concerned, it's mainly our initiative to try to increase capacity to support the expected traffic surge. And that's mainly done, achieved by selection of preferred rapid exit taxiway used at the main Bangkok airports per each runway end. And in addition to specifying target runway occupancy time so that we can try to optimize the use of the runway and of course increase capacity. This is also done in tandem with post-ops analysis that's at least done every month so that the operations is reviewed. Actual runway occupancy time figures are actually passed to the airlines so they can review their operations. And meanwhile, target versus actual separation between aircraft is also reviewed by ATC team so that they can also conduct further training to kind of rectify the gaps. So that's the high-intensity runway operations project currently in progress at the 2 Bangkok airports. Next one is also the deployment of this integrated arrival sequencing tool that tries to unify the calculation of the arrival sequence running into major airports. Previously, we had a situation where traffic may end up being sped up and then slowed down when approaching the airports. So with unified calculation of this sequence and the sequence being delivered to air traffic controller on the screen as a label next to the aircraft symbol, it helps in trying to first absorb the delay as early as possible, possibly in the en route flight phase rather than in the approach airspace, and also try to reduce the overall delay. So if there's only one sequence being calculated, then expected total delay should be reduced. This particular initiative is also being implemented along the line with airspace restructure of the 2 Bangkok airports, adding the 3rd Utapao airport southeast of Bangkok into the airspace, so it form some sort of a metroplex around Bangkok, so as to increase capacity to support expected traffic increase post-COVID. So that's the 2 capacity increasing initiative. Then the third one, the next one being highlighted would be air traffic flow management service improvement, which in contrast with the previous 2, ATFM initiative is more geared towards improving resiliency of the overall ATM network. So during COVID-19, of course, the regional ATFM, sub-regional, regional ATFM network in the region try to re-gear from the need for implementing cross-border ATFM measure into more like information sharing in terms of expected COVID-19 situation for each of the state administration in the region, and then also trying to pass on expected issues. So as far as Aerothai perspective as an NSP, locally, we try to improve the training of ATFM personnel as well as integrating ATFM training into ATS personnel as well, and also enhancing the documentations in support of ATFM service standards issued by CAA Thailand. In addition, we also did some work on enhancing the Seoul military cooperation, flexible use of airspace operations, and also initial unmanned UTM kind of update to as an initial step to accommodate new entrants in the Bangkok FAR airspace. So that's within the Bangkok FAR. Then cross-border, we are also trying to provide technical support technical cooperation to neighboring ANSPs to upgrade their ATFM service capability to support the post-COVID traffic recovery, so that at least whatever capacity is available post-COVID-19 is used to the maximum extent possible. And regionally, beyond the Mekong border, as I'm also serving as a chair of ICAO APAC ATFM steering group, we did review the ICAO Asia Pacific regional framework for collaborative ATFM. And within the framework, there's the regime of annual ATFM service maturity reporting. And this picture on the screen actually showed the maturity at early 2022, where state administrations were being asked to assess their maturity. And then four of the Asia Pacific administrations were reporting robust, and then 8 marginal and 12 incomplete. And after we reviewed the regional ATFM framework in 2022, the reporting came in from early 2023 with doubling of the number of robust report from 4 to 8, and some marginal and incomplete. So looks like as we try to exit the COVID-19 situation, at least the ATFM network in a region has also been developed further. So hopefully when we have a situation that capacity drops or some situation requiring resilience, then we are in better position to address the situation. And of course, on a global level, since Thailand also has a member on ATM Ops panel, as I'm actually also a panel member, we're also trying to support ICAO's effort to upgrade the policy and standards on various matters. As an example, the support of upgrade of the ATFM provisions so that we can have better guidance for state administrations in region to adopt operations to the unforeseen circumstances, so that capacity can be scaled up and down based on the changes in circumstance. So that concludes AeroThai presentation as how we plan on supporting the expected traffic surge post-COVID-19, so we can get back to pre-COVID-19 type traffic level, albeit under new normal kind of circumstance. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Yeon Myung Kim from Hanseol University. I am right now a professor of Hanseol University since last year. Before moving that university, I worked at the KIAST and KOTI, KOTI Korea Institute of Aviation Safe Technology, and KOTI for 3 years, and the KOTI Korea Transport Institute for 22 years, with the MOLIT of Republic of Korea, like with the Director General Kyung-soo Yoo and also Director General Sang-soo Kim. And I think I worked with many expert Korean in this room. So today I would like to normally I worked on some aviation policy, some safety issue, or some security issue, even airport planning. By the way, thank you for the preview, so the last to present, because my PhD dissertation was arrival sequencing model when I was in University of Maryland at College Park, long time ago, 1992. So I'm happy to hear your some suggestion for that. Anyway, okay, next slide. Oh, sure, I get it. Okay. I would like discuss about aviation safety issue and tasks in Korea. Okay. First, I will review some key points and aviation safety issues and some aviation safety plan of some Korea of the MOLIT, and I will mention about the tasks to do. Anyway, before I start some issue, I will mention about some key points. We need some establishment and implementation of the basic plan for the national aviation safety policy about aircraft, air transportation systems after the COVID pandemic. And also, we need some analyzation, so international aviation safety trend, and we reflect safety trend in the national aviation safety policy. And also, we need some accident prevention and safe flight operation, aircraft certification systems and training systems, and also we need upgrading and improvement of air transportation systems. First, I want to mention about some aviation safety issue on safety of flight operation in airline sector. After the pandemic, and recently the demand is recovering, so we need some selection and management of the key safety risk factor by some state safety program. And also, as the air demand is recovered, so safety management of risk factor for reoperation of aircraft and airline employee. And also, we need some data collection. So using some data, we need some analyzed, some aviation big data, so we can find some risk factor or we can find some meaning of the aviation issues. And next, some resilience. So we need some flexible response to change about transportation environment in Korea, such as merging M&A of Korean Air and Asiana Airline. And also, small airline business has some burden to apply same SMS standard of full service carrier. And also, they are difficult to build the safety information system. The other side, like a non-airline sector, for the helicopter, we need upgrading safety system. Still, there are continuous accidents caused by human factor and some weather. And for the training aircraft, so Hanzo has about 50 training aircraft. So still, we need some improvement of safety. So still, there are a small accident caused by error of situational awareness and experience control. So, and the second issue is manufacturing and certification and MRO. So aircraft, in terms of some aircraft manufacturing, we need developing or some establishment of aircraft certification system, such as type certification, product certification, airworthiness certification for the future flight mode, such as eVTOL or UAM. As I told you, I worked at the CAST Korean Institute Aviation Safety Technology mostly handle this certification system. But right now, very few manpower and also they require some advanced technology and some standard. So yeah, in the morning, President Tae-sung Lee, who is the president of the CAST, gave some congratulatory speech. So he's my success of the CAST. So when I was in CAST, I felt our aircraft certification system is require, more manpower and technology and some support from MOLIT. So we need this kind of aviation aircraft certification system. And we need some localization of part. Or we encourage the use of some certified part that are made in Korea. Yeah, I told many times in other seminar about some certification, the importance of certification. So yeah, anyway, and later. Next, and the air transportation system. So we need increase the airspace capacity. Before the completion of a new airport construction and the fourth phase of the Incheon International Airport expansion development, Korea has a plan to build another 6 new airports in near future. So we need some increase in the airspace. And we try to use system, some flexibly, the airspace between civil and military. Korea has some special situation. So still 64% of airspace used by military. So we can share those airship space. That's our job to be solved in the future. And all the things is data driven and establishing an integrated aviation information management system. And in terms of the ATC operational efficiency to respond the air traffic growth. And the training of aviation personnel. So as many as expert dimension, supply and demand outlook. Right now, lack of the aviation personnel, management, and infrastructure for the education and training. So we need some human resource education and training systems. It is very important. In near future, the high technology in air navigation is going to be introduced. Then we need some training for them. And also, we need some amendment of Korean aviation, some license system based on some ICAO SARPs. And next, I would like to introduce the UAM ALPA's airspace issues. So, Korean government has a plan to be commercialization of UAM in 2025. So already the Korean government start the Grand Challenge Stage 1. So right now they try to operate UAM and collecting the data. And second, we need some manufacturing or MRO certification for the UAM industry in the future. So yeah, same as told you before, we need some aircraft or UAM certification system. And also the UAM we need technical roadmap, and already we have some KUAM concept, version 1.0 for the UAM commercialization. And Yes, as I told you. Let me brief. Okay, this is the main aviation safety plan and goal of the MOLIT of the Republic of Korea. So Korean government has like an establishment of global leading smart aviation safety system. And also the goal is the development of aviation safety in transportation and non-transportation. So wants to keep a zero fatal accident in transportation. And there are 6 directions to do this goal. So I'm focusing on 3 directions, like manufacturing MRO and air transportation system, and also training of professional personnel. So first, development of aircraft manufacturing industry by upgrading maintenance and some certification system. So as I told you before, so aircraft certification system is very, very important. But still, Korean government and also KIAS has to go a long way to get some manpower or some standard or some regulation for that. Anyway, we need upgrade the capability of certification systems such as type certification or some production certification and airworthiness certification. So we need some strategy for supporting aviation part manufacturing industry. And also we need improve our safety certification system for the UAM industry, as I told you. And also some maintenance system for the sustainable safety. Say next. And some development of MRO technology. In the future, we're going to use the high technology. As I, Captain there and other people already mentioned about some high technology to use aircraft or aviation safety. And also, we're going to use some smart MRO technology using ICT technology. So next is some securing capacity for development airport and advanced system. So we need some securing airspace to develop a new airport and the Incheon International Airport Phase 4 project. So increase airport capacity or some airspace capacity by improving departure arrival some separation rule. And we need some optimization of air navigation system by modernized airspace system. So, as the third speaker mentioned about some ATFM, so we need that kind of some high technology, some tool to increase capacity of airspace or some airport. And we need like a data analysis. So we try to, KIAS also try to collect some big data. So after analyze the big data, so we can find some like a risk factor for the aviation safety. So we need this kind of some air transportation management system. And also, we need some improvement efficiency through innovation in ATM. So improve the operational efficiency through the improve the ATC or some we using the some high technology. And next is the training professional who lead innovation in the aviation industry. So human resource for the future generation air transportation. So we need some systematization of career management for aviation human resource. Also, we need development of systems and infrastructure to train high-quality aviation professionals. And also, we need some prevention of accident related to human factor by improving education and regulation. So we need strengths, the education and training by some systematization of a CBTA or some. Also, we try to connect worldwide for the global education And also, we need some strengthen some national license system and establish professional management platform. Okay, I'm trying to finish here because time's almost up. Anyway, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your time when you stay in Korea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, good team, and of course, very exciting presentations, a lot of things to take away for the regulators, the industry, the airlines, the manufacturers, and of course, the academia. So now, I would like to open the floor for questions. Before these gentlemen get off the floor, the stage. If you have not sent in your question, but you have a question, please let us know. Just put up your hand, and you'll have the microphone. Yes, while we are waiting for the microphone to come, I think there is a lady over there. Please, who has the microphone for going around? Okay, go ahead, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm So-hyun Park, the Assistant Director to Division for Aviation Safety Policy and Licensing Division of KOCA MOLIT. And I would like to ask a question to Mr. Kang from Korean Air. It's quite impressive that Korean Air is analyzing turbulence event data in a very detailed and automated way. First, I would like to let you know that safety events related to turbulence are also one of the recent interests at the state level. Since turbulence injury events have been increased recently for the past 5 months, there were already 5 cases, including 1 accident. And it's a very high number compared to last year's just 4 events related to turbulence. So the public concerns for the flight safety is also increasing. So KOCA is working on some possible mitigation methods to reduce any risk related to turbulence in regards of flight safety. For example, we are trying to make a real-time sharing system of the turbulence data utilizing some PIREP and AREP data from airlines. And in addition, ICAO and other leading states like US are recently introducing predictive safety management from reactive and proactive safety management. So in this regard, I wonder if Korean Air has any plan for predictive strategy with the data from TAS related to reduce the risk related to turbulence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Park. It's a great question. You have broadened up the question, not only the topic I made, but you just touched not only the injury cases, but to broaden up all the, I would say, safety management system. Because the purpose and then goal of the safety management system is the preventive, not the active. Well, I would say historically, SMS are developed based on reactive. Still, we somehow, I think, SMS focusing on pretty much on reactive because we kind of are based on an assumption that a certain accident happened, and then there is a reason, one good reason why. Actually, when it comes to the accident investigation, there is no just one probable cause. But we are working on that way. This is the probable cause, and then we do some mitigation plan with this one so that there is no accident follow-up. But history shows, even though whatever we do, it's come along. Because the approach is, I believe, is a little bit different. That's why I think in the high end of the safety management, come up with, as you point out, the preventative, leading indicators, all the stuff that come along. And as you point out, that's why Korean Air implementing a new technology of RPA, robotic processing automation, which is just a simple technology. But I believe industry, especially aviation industry, very, very conservative to implementing new technology. Because I made a presentation, I made some of the comments in the GIS and also about this. Our aviation history written in blood, and it's about the people's life. And that's why there's no proven factors come along with it, and we're not going to implement it. But now I think we are approaching the very, very interesting point. As the keynote speaker pointed out, the technology, comparing to the conventional historical technology and the nowadays technology, I think the degree of gravity is changing. So I personally believe, aviation as a safety expert, we have to reconsider very carefully if you have a good support with a data-driven proof, then you have to, or you're willing to accept that implementation. To answer your question, that's why we implemented the task development. It's not only we are focusing on the only turbulence injury cases, but we expand idea. The RPAs give a very, very good tools to not only only on the topic of turbulence, but also some of the other flight data management. As I said, preventive maintenance, which is very good. And you can make a very, very efficient. Well, talking about the not efficient things, but it is very efficient. And also lots of flight operation safety monitoring things. I don't know whether it's a good answer to you. We can collaborate together, if you will. By the way, my name is Captain Bae, not Kang. Sorry, my name is Kangwon Bae Kangwon. Sorry. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for the question and good answer. We just have time for one more question. I see the gentleman here, and maybe if the organizers allow us 5 more minutes, there will be another question over there. So please, yes. And perhaps be brief, and the answer is also brief, so that the 2 questions can be taken. Thank you. Who has the microphone? Here.
Good morning. My name is Philip Cho from Asian Airlines. I have a question for Korean Air turbulence system. It was a very, very nice system that you have. It's a congratulations. I have a simple question. Once you get the data, and if you have data is visualized on a map, then how fast the pilot can receiving those informations? And if so, is it possible during the flight if the en route, if the weather condition changes, then they possibly receiving those information, then pilot can avoiding a turbulence area. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. That's another very, very important question about this kind of program. That reminds the question when I had some of the discussion with IATA program, turbulence aware program, that EDR. They provided a similar kind of question, but we've been through some of the long discussion, but we are kind of using it still. But at the end, the problem is the connectivity. Once in the cockpit they have the kind of wireless connection, then they are able to get the real-time data right away. But right now, I think at the Korean Air and then some of the Asian airline too, have I think recently initiated a kind of wireless program in flight recently. So I think that's also the problem. To answer the question that how fast we can get it, as I said, no, we are kind of right now working on a very hard. This is not end because we have a kind of a web-based program right now as an initiative, and then on the ground we can use it as a kind of flight planning purpose, and then had a great idea before coming out flight what happened, and then and as for the manager, they can have a great idea what has happened before and after, and all the parameter of the operator defines. And with this information, they can have a very good mitigation plan in specific cases, specific situations, or a specific route, or certain, what can I say, weather patterns. It's our ultimate goal. At the end, maybe as a second plan will be web-based, moving to the app-based, so that the pilot or any user wanted to use it, and then they can click on then in iPad or their phones, and then opens up, and then they can have almost the real-time data. That's the characteristic of the QAR data. Once, by using the RPA, QAR data maybe come down from the airplane to the data center, and then uploading to it will be done, automatic process, automation, RPA. And then that's why I said not fully real time, but almost real time. But once you have a Wi-Fi connectivity, and then once you speed it up by this kind of process, yes, it's almost real time, you have an information. I don't know whether it's answered.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you for the great question. Everybody, I think, is interested in that kind of information. We are always scared of the turbulences. A question over there, and no, one question over there. Only that one is the last one. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is Captain Eric Matava. I'm the Executive for Aviation Safety Standards and Assurance in South Africa. What I wanted to know, thank you very much, first of all, for the presentation, very wealthy and rich presentation. I just wanted to know where is the position of aircraft manufacturers. What statistics do we have in this kind of research in terms of statistics, research, and is it across all types? Yeah, just some feedback you have. Thank you.
Do you have anyone you're asking that question specific?
It's from the presentation on turbulence injuries.
Oh my goodness. Is it so scary? Okay, Captain, very briefly, if you have an answer for him, but you are not a manufacturer, do you have the answer?
I think broader than Mr. Park. Maybe we can face-to-face talk later on. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Captain.
So, as a way of thanking you, I have the last question for you. As they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But then there is a warning that it will come back. And sometimes it may come back even harder than before. So we have seen COVID. there are speculations that there could be something even worse than COVID. Are there takeaways from COVID? Are we now resilient enough to deal with if it came back or something worse? Can you give us your views? And I'll ask each one of you to make some summary of your point. If you think we are resilient enough in the future to deal with such emergencies. Thank you.
Okay.
Starting with Brian.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you. Very quickly, Okay, sorry. Very quickly, I think we are more resilient just from going through the experience we've all learned, and I think we're going to react faster. So I would say what we've learned is our reaction times have increased. Aviation is often a very slow, methodical process. I think we move very quickly this time. I think we are going to move even more quickly the next time we do it. That's all.
Thank you for the question. I would just add that I think now's the time that we should be taking a look backwards at what worked, what didn't work, and look at how do we develop and put in processes, conversations, decision points. How do we build an architecture around what we know from the pandemic? I think to say that we could have a plan for everything that could possibly happen, I don't think that's necessarily realistic. What I think is realistic is having that framework and understanding and having your organizations, whether it's a regulating entity or an airline, and having those contingency plans in place and having the processes on how you're going to address the issues as they come up is where our next steps really need to focus.
Thank you, Robert. Now, Captain Baye, you have an opportunity to answer something not turbulent.
Very short. I kind of agree with Robert saying that when we ask a question to the elementary school boy, what is the gravity? He will say, I don't know. And then we come to the very high-end physicist and ask a question, what is the gravity? Definitely they will answer, I don't know. But we have to understand the difference between this answer, I don't know. I think it tells us the experience that we've been through this crisis as an experience. Yes, this is life. I'm not only talking about the pandemic itself. Crisis will come. We are not only focusing on the pandemic itself. Same kind of things come out. This is life. It's reiterating, but we experience it. We learn things from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. And now, Mr. Sunan. Oh, okay, Toon.
Okay. So, just based on the last two slides of my presentation, I think that the region is better prepared to address contingency situation based on more mature ATFM network. But of course, we have to look into whether this contingency is a short-lived, short-term versus long-term. So if we're talking about short-term type situation, then having a good operating ATFM network should help. But then if we go longer term, like the situation like COVID, then we may need to rethink how, let's say, ANSPs are being structured. So when we have the privatized ANSPs, then generally when traffic goes up, it's good. But then when traffic comes down, what do we do with the revenues that dry up? Like, let's say, 90% reduction of traffic in a very short time period. So there might need to be some thinking that we need to do, and then some further actions to somehow adjust ANSP business models so that eventually, if we have significant traffic reduction similar to COVID-19, we can have more resilience for that kind of situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Toon. And Professor, you have the last say. Please tell us in your research whether you have any advice for us for the bigger emergencies that may come in the future.
All right. As I mentioned about some aviation industry. So aviation industry has an ecosystem like a manufacturer, some operation, and some MRO. So Korea has a good for some operation, but for the manufacturer and MRO are not good in Korea. So we try to develop and so operating our some aircraft certification system for the manufacturer, and also some MRO. So please support our country and some kiosks to upgrade this kind of system. Thank you very much. Have a nice lunch.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask you to join me in giving a big round of applause for the good presentations. I know that there were many, many questions to come, but we just don't have the time. Maybe next year. So please, a good round of applause for the excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But I don't think we'll have to wait until next year because, you know, we have the lunch time so that you can ask personally the questions. Yes, we will now go. It was really great to see all the participants fully engaged in the conversations during the first session. Please give our moderator and the speakers another big round of applause. Thank you very much for the fruitful session.